to start. The day is going to take 45 minutes to do an exposition. I was supposed to do one of the commentary, unfortunately the moderator did not turn up, so I will moderate, although Leslie knows very well that I will probably also in the data. He and I have not always agreed on things. The two commentators will be Professor Antoine Auguste of Florida Memorial College, who, of course, aviation knows the complex of this country very well, knows Leslie. And then we're very fortunate indeed to have Dr. George Corriol of the Center of International Strategic Studies in Washington, who is also an old meeting man, he's doing a lot of writing and teaching. So in many ways it's a very nice mix, which honors the university, and I'm very pleased to see that to introduce Leslie in the faculty.
Ladies and gentlemen, including I was very pleased to be here again at the University and to have the opportunity to speak on it. The matter which is very important to me, but I hope is also of great interest for you, important for you. In spite of the activities, it's not complicated, it needs to be better known, better understood, and that's what I'm trying to do when we address such an intelligent audience like tonight. So this is about a friend, a border friend. But this does not mean that, as I said, you agree on everything about it. So therefore, I would ask him, in spite of the fact that he's going to be a moderator, not to drop his role as a commentator, because we could have before you and with you a quite interesting exchange on my line to see what exactly has happened and is happening and will happen, is the most dangerous in Haiti. Not only in Haitian politics, but also in the general life of our beloved country. I do think, and I've written about it, that Haiti is a very peculiar situation, but not a unique situation. I accept the specificity of Haiti, I don't accept the unicity of it. Because we belong to a category of countries which have certain characteristics in common. We may build this characteristic in our own way, our own Haitian way, but we must not forget that most of the countries in the world, and most particularly most of the countries in the third world, went through the experiences that we are still living in some sectors, are still in the same situation, some of them, in which we are today, and face the same problems for the future, preparing for the future, that we are lowering in preparation for our future. So therefore, my problem is very simple. It's to try to see when we are specific to the point that we can say this is the Haitian, the real Haitian. But when we belong to the category, we say we are just a case within a class of countries, within a class of phenomena, within a category of situations. And when you look at it this way, you see that we came from a yesterday which is full of lessons and legacy to us in order to understand the situation. There is no doubt that it is the product of history, we can't think it is the product of history. But Haiti may be more particularly, and we would like to say why interest why. Second, from this history is almost conceived, formed, designed for us a certain future, a tomorrow, a coming tomorrow. And how can we escape from this kind of deterministic obligation to go there on the dead? How can we accept the burden of history, but at the same time carving the evolution which seems to come to adapt this evolution to our own goals and needs, our own human intervention? But from this past to this future, we are now living in the today, which is a baffling situation. And we must try to explain, we must try to show how this seemingly baffling situation, very complex indeed, very grave, very serious, so to a large extent is a reality that we can't understand, that we can't apprehend, that we can't analyze, and that we can normalize in a certain way in the eyes of many people who think that Haiti is something inexplicable and not understandable, inunderstandable. Excuse my English, but I'm trying to look at this. Now, what I want to say, I will try to organize it in 3 parts, the classical way. In the first part, I will try to show the genesis and the development of the crisis that we are living today. Therefore, the first part is dedicated to an historical explanation of where we are today. The second part will be an attempt to analyze the extreme complexity and gravity of the present crisis, attaching especial importance, especial emphasis on the very nature of the crisis that we are in. So therefore, the second part is dedicated to the nature of the crisis, to its complexity and gravity and seriousness to our body. And the third part will be dedicated to the prospect out of the present critical point, which by the institution we try to make some prospection of the future, to make visible, visible the future of our country, indicating what we would like to see coming and what may be coming at a cost that we can't evaluate. It will be very difficult for us if we don't intervene. Part 1. The present crisis as an outcome of all the historical evolution. Citizens recently argued in Foreign Affairs that Haiti is still marked by the revolution of 1789 to 1804, that means our national revolution of independence. And that we can understand Haiti today in reference to what happened 200 years ago, and if we don't refer to that origins of the nation, we cannot understand not only the internal situation of the country, but the way the international community deals with us, perceives us, and tries to organize the future for us in the present and coming forward. I'm not going so far back in history. To understand the present crisis, I will limit myself to go back to the end of the 19th century and beginning of this century. 100 years, not 200. I agree, of course, that 200 years ago was constituted what I call the traditional society of Haiti. The traditional society. What in Haiti they call in a strange way, Haïti-Toma, the old Haiti. The old Haiti was considered in the 19th century in the form, in the reality, in the framework of a dual system. Because when independence arrived, the former intermediate strata of the colonial society, the middle class colonial society, the affranchis, the freemen, mainly mulattoes, they wanted to collect the legacy of the old white colonists. I mean the plantations, but they couldn't. They wanted, they couldn't. Why? Because the slaves, why majority of the population, 30,000 freemen, 500,000 slave forces. The slave wanted the land, and I insist on that, because in the textbook about history, education history, they say the revolution had two objectives: personal freedom from slavery and national independence from colonial domination. That's not true, because it is incomplete. There was a third objective, most important for the future of it. Meaning that the slave wanted, the ex-slave wanted the land, and the new elite was obliged to parcel out the land and give birth to a black peasantry, which is unique at that time in the history of the present world, of the new world, because Latin America became independent, but maintained the plantation, haciendas, with hacendados and peones, while in Haiti, from the independence, started a new system in which you have a black peasant, small landowners. So they did what you do, quite naturally. You went to the import-export human sector and monopolized products that the peasant wanted. But the peasants were to be free of growing foodstuff for their own consumption on the internal market. And that's where the crisis happened at the end of it. The commercial company wanted more and more export products, while the business wanted more and more foodstuff. So the crisis came from the tension between export products and imported products, but one benefiting the mouvement, the other benefiting the peasant. The crisis came from the tension between the two. But more than that, the crisis came from the prices of such products. And you have seen in Haiti something curious. A peasant leader, Akao, in the middle of the century, formulated an illiterate peasant leader. Formulated what we call today the theory of unequal exchange and the innovation of the exchange terms. Clearly, in a manifest published in 1845, Akao would clearly manifest without any mistake possible the very theory of unequal exchange and the innovation of exchange terms. But the crisis came from the succession laws in land production. Because the new rulers, coming from a French system, from compile themselves, they decided to adopt the Napoleon Code. But they were no more owner of land. Even the peasants were owner of land. So therefore, at each generation, from the first Algerian reform of the beginning of the independent era, from that, at every generation, the land was divided. So at the end of the 19th century, we came into a regime of micro-property. stars as the family unit for exploitation from 30, 40 at the beginning of independence era. And this process is going on today to what we call micro-food regime, which is something unbelievable. Do not happen anymore. Accept the pressure of the population, given the size of the family exploitation. But in the meantime, the population grew from 600,000 inhabitants at the beginning of the independence to 2 million before World War I. So therefore, the demographic pressure on the other hand became unbearable. And Haiti, which was from the independence to the 1860s, an immigration land. The Haitians were looking for immigrants, and they were looking at the direction of the black Americans to come, and some came in 2 waves between 1804 and 1816. But at the end of the century, the crisis was such that Haiti became an emigration land, with the first Haitian going to Cuba at the saffron, at the sugar harvest. So therefore, at the end of the century, at the beginning of this century, openly started a structural crisis of the traditional society. And then in this, you know why? Because Haiti was an independent state. Today we are looking at the world. You see 185 independent states. But Haiti was at that time almost the only one. Black independent country in the world. That's the almost the now, as an independent state, Haiti had to face the realities of the modern world. Because all the big countries had modernized themselves. And the other non-European countries, non-American countries, were in the process of the revolution of modernization. Japan, with the Iran regime. Yes. Russia, with the last Tsar industrializing the country, and after that, with Lenin, with the Bolshevik revolution. You remember that Lenin said, communism in Russia is Soviet plus electricity. What an idea. You had Turkey with Mustafa Kemal, revolution of the modernization. You had China with Sun Yat-sen, revolution of the Haiti had to realize their own modernization, and she did not. So therefore, you have a situation in which, on the one side, we have the passing of the traditional society. But on the other side, you have the non-materialization of the modernization, revolution, which was necessary. And the crisis came from that. On the one side, the passing of the traditional society. On the other side, the impossibility so far to substitute to the passing of the society a new modern society. Of course, we are modernizers, we are figures of modernization, we are terms of modernization, but all them failed to encourage, to start a sustained process, a continuous process of modernization. So today, up to now in Haiti, we have enclaves of modernization. But all the society is not modernized. That's the problem. That's the origin of the crisis, that's the development of the crisis, but I go further. I say that the crisis itself, because since the first manifestation of our structural crisis, 1896 to 1915, we have never surmounted this crisis. From time to time, there is a period when the American occupation, the presidency of history, Jean-Claude Duvalier, first period from 1971 to 1982. But this has not really operated the mutation that Haiti needs between the old national society which is dying and the new modern one which is not so far in the heavy capital economic processes. So therefore, look at the environment. We have dilapidated the nature of the country to the point that we are only 2% of vegetal poor. While in the Dominican Republic, they are 23%, our next neighbor, 23%. So we are living in this existential crisis. We are living an ecological disaster. Take a simple example. The Haitian man. The Haitian man. The Haitian man is barely surviving. Hunger is there. Not only in one department, the Northwest, that we call the Far West, but in every department, in some parts of the territory. There is a hunger geography today in Haiti. And people are cutting down even fruit trees. In the area where I live, people are cutting down the mango trees to sell in order to have gold for the city. It is very serious. The survival of the country between two mango and avocado seasons. That's where we are. And Tony Bengo wrote an humoristic article, at least the title, it's not the content, about when the next mango season, speaking of Haiti. So therefore, we have an existential crisis where the existence of the country is at stake. And many Haitians are losing faith in their country, in the future of their country. And this is the most serious sign of the existential crisis. All these three crises gather together to make the tragic situation in which we are. And the complexity expresses itself in all fields. When they say Haiti is in crisis, many political scientists come and observe the politics of Haiti. No, they are wrong. You cannot today observe the Haitian crisis through its political dimension only. You are totally misleading you readers. Because what is more important is that the crisis is economic, social, psychological, moral, religious, external, absolutely in every field. There is not one single field of Asian life which is not affected and seriously affected by the crisis. So when you come with good theories, excellent theories, the transition from a totalitarian regime to a democratic one, and you apply it to Haiti, you are totally equivocating yourself and the people. Because the most important aspect of Haiti is the problem of a change of system and not the problem of a change of a political regime only. Modernization of this country is that the country necessitates. And within that necessity of modernization, we find political modernization, which is the modernization. Well, this, yes, we have it. But we find also economic modernization, which is development. We find also social modernization, which is social justice in the society. You find a moral, psychological modernization, which is the change of mentality, to go from an archaic mentality to a more modern one. So, any analysis of the political situation of the country must insert the political dimension into the global picture that will give reality to the truth, to the reality of your analysis. Now, if you take the famous political crisis of Haiti, what is the result? You know, I'm only mentioning, I'm only enumerating. I don't have the time to analyze. But let us see a little bit the complexity of the political crisis. The political crisis is now, we are trying to enter into part 3, but before we are stopping to see the political crisis, after that we go to the postulate. It is today an electoral crisis. Since the 25th of June 1995, aggravated by the elections of April 6, 1997. We are in the middle of an electoral crisis. The first round of April 6, 1997 was made in April 6. And up to now, it is impossible to have the second round of elections. Electoral crisis. It is a governmental crisis. We don't have a prime minister for the country since more now than 8 months. Haiti has no prime minister since more than 8 months. While we have an obligation to take important decisions to face a crisis and build a future, we don't have a government. That's a serious blocking of the situation. Now, more than that, it's the crisis of the regime itself. Because the Lavalas movement, originally born around the leadership of Aristide, which then was a priest, is divided. But although divided, they constitute a Lavalas nebulosa, which is the minority political grouping of the country. Exactly the contrary of what is published about it. Exactly the contrary. Let me state what clearly two things. First, even at the peak of its popularity, Lavalas was not the majority of the country. The statistics are there. On a simply simple observation. They said 67%, there was no electoral register giving 67%. Up to now, many ballot boxes are not open. But let's accept the 67% of the people who have voted. But how many people, what percentage of people have voted in 37%. So it's 67 of 37, which is less than 30% of the electoral population. Never Lavalas has got the majority of the electorate, statistically speaking. But more than that, since then what happened? They made the elections of 25 of June 1995. Aristide came personally to radio and television and asked the people to come to vote. But here's the reason. After the fraudulent elections of 25 of June 1997, that even the Carter Center, the Democrat Center, the Democrat Party Center, even the Carter Center observed that on the 18 elections, the Carter Center had observed the Haitian one of the June 25, 1990, the most scandalous one. Even the Carter Center. The independent of the party decided to abstain. What happened? Second round, less than 25% of the electorate came to vote. Less than 25. Election of December 95 for the presidency. Less than 15% of the population went to vote. Election of April 6, 1997, last year, less than 5% of the population went to vote. I'm not giving fancy statistics. They are the true statistics given by the international organization, given by the radios and media agency, given recently by Girard Pierre himself, who participated in the elections and who came winner of the elections. He said publicly in the radio that the party was less than 6%. 6%. He said, you're not able to remember, he said that 5%, but that's not what they say, 5% or 6%. Okay. So, it is clear from these statistics, whatever you may interpret, that the people deserted the ballot box in spite of the call of the Navajas movement. So, we are living today in the political crisis, within the political crisis, is something which is unbelievable. The people who have the monopoly of the political space of the country, the formal political space, the institutional political space, have the support of 5% of the population. And the people who don't have access to the political space, where the people are critical, informal space, they are at their disposal. I'm not saying they are supported by, they are honest. I'm not saying they are supported by. But I say I am at their disposal 90% of the electorate which I deserted the last camp as well as non-participating in the election caused by the movement. But more than that, in the political field, you have a constitutional crisis that we are living right now. We are more than that. We are living finally in the probably last stage, the systemic political crisis of the country. Because what the government is demonstrating right now is that in spite of the Constitution, which says that the Prime Minister is the head of the government, we are living without Prime Minister. It means that the system itself is at stake because the president is there, but the head of the government is not there, and the country is still surviving. We don't know how, but it is surviving. And that's the problem that you have today in it. You see, you have this very contradictory situation in which everyone is saying, oh no, this cannot last anymore. That's impossible. This cannot last anymore. And every week, every month, this is lasting, and everlasting. You are saying, no, we cannot go deeper. It is impossible. We cannot go deeper. And every week, every month, we are going deeper. We are going to large reforms of this situation. It's a contradiction. So we must get out of it. How to get out of it? Let us come to the last part before to meet the events saying that by 40 minutes now. Well enough. Now, part 3, the prospect of the present political situation of the country. In my eyes, and in the eyes of any observer, if we let the trends today going on uninterrupted, we are going right to the most terrible of the catastrophe. Economic bankruptcy, political marasm, chaos, and the country may not find a way, if not on a foreign intervention, to put their own order into a general disorder that will come out of the implosion of the political regime or the explosion of the country. That's what the two risks that I see in the situation if we don't intervene. If nothing is going to correct the situation, we are going to an implosion of the political regime or the explosion of the entire society. How do we intervene? Do what? Intervene to correct the trends and change the direction. A correction which must be done within the country by the Haitian actors, political or other. A very needed, a badly needed correction of the trend of Haitian internal politics, but also an external corrections coming from the new awareness of the international community about the true nature of the regime, and some sign indicating that the willingness of the international world to look at things differently and to try to change something in order to correct what has been done so far in such a wrongly way, which is such a wrongly view of the situation. Two corrections. When it depends on the Haitians internally to change the political situation internally, and the other from the internal community to correct the line of policy in order to have another policy toward Haiti, toward the change that we need. But if we intervene, what kind of intervention to do what? I mean, what next and what to do? What next and what to do? I'm going to resume, before concluding, the two lines I see and I would like to see realized. In the political field, which is the most important, is the second, the one we must address first. I'm not saying what's important by substance, by essence. In the political field, Haiti has to ask herself what kind of democracy she needs. The problem is not to say that is democracy, and we do fail to say to see this country is enough for democracy. There is no way to democratize this country. No! The answer is wrong because the question is wrong. The problem is the following. One, how can you start a process of democratization in the world? Not how can you democratize it? Because if you want to democratize it, you are going to ask the nation performances like the one you find in the United States, in France, in England, in Germany. It is impossible. Absolutely impossible. You have to realize that the democratization process takes 3 phases. I've developed that for very those. I've developed that in an article I published in the Vision. It is a publication by the Center for Studying International for International Affairs. And I entitled the article Challenges Confronting Third World Leaders. In my view, we have 3 phases of any process of democratization. Two stories. There is a first phase in which you enter the process and try to consolidate in a first step some basic performances, but modest. One is the respect for life. There is no entry into any democratic process without the respect for life. Tolerance, political tolerance, the right to someone to differ and not to be killed because he differs. The basic human rights, the civil liberties, elections without dissent, pluralism, of course, because of tolerance, and the possibility to have a transfer from a democratic elected government to another democratic elected. That's all. You cannot ask more for the first phase. But during the first phases, you must prepare for the second one. And to prepare for the second one is not only the political performance that is exported, but you have to raise the level of education and standard of living of people. Because you cannot enter the second phase without a certain level of education and economic development. So it is during the first phase that you have to work for that, to perform in such a way that you reach a level where people have a decent life and a decent level of education. When you enter the second phase, what are you going to have? You are going to have an harmonious functioning of the institution, of the democratic institution. A distribution of powers which are autonomous, separate, but cooperating. You have the political game which is no more a fight, but becomes more and more enraged. You have the majority, the ruling numerical majority, which governs, but taking into account the views and interests of the minority. And being accountable before all the nations for the performance. At that stage, you are in the second phase of the democratic process, where we find France, United States of America, Germany, Spain. And at the third phase, you have the achievement of the democratic performance, where you have a consensual society, where the competition is more a game than a debate, and certainly more a debate than a fight. Where the majority rules, but integrating in its policy, the interest views of the minority. Well, really, life is such in the field of tolerance that sometimes the electorate itself may be confused and may choose for one aspect of a party and not for the whole program of the party, because after all, it is a consensual society. At this stage, where government disappears, generally disappears, you find a few Scandinavian countries, England, and some of the moderate countries that look to democracy. I don't put any emphasis in the third phase. I apologize for that. Because when you see the functioning of US democracy, you cannot find that which the third phase is a great movement, a good power. A modern democracy accepts an exemplary democracy, but within the second phase, because we still find brigadiers which are murdered, presidents which are assassinated, these are not things people will do. But this is not the Islam. The Americans themselves criticize their democracy perfectly, and when you read that, you are often surprised to see how profound the criticism may be. But it's not to criticize, just to observe that a great democracy, I have friends also, you don't say that because I come from the constitution, I feel well. I have friends also the second. With the whole constitution, you have a democracy which has something goes to Lacanism, I think, Article 16 of the constitution. So therefore, the three phases are there, and Haiti can be a candidate only for admission into the first phase. As long as people don't observe that and understand that, they are going to be mistaken about Haiti, asking the nation's performances which belong to the second or third phase. We are only candidates for admission into the first phase. But what kind of democracy? I am trying again to be even answer to that in an article published that we have Haiti. Why democracy for Haiti? People are saying and writing everywhere. Even some good friends of mine are writing that Haiti has never known what is democracy. It is in 1990 that for the first time some kind of democracy was introduced in Haiti. And our past is only a part of dictatorship, corruption, and brutality. That's totally false. People ignore the Haitian history. And on the basis of this ignorance, they allocate to us because we are so underdeveloped. And sometimes we do such wrong things that we deserve that due, which is untrue. They don't know how much has been the fight for democracy. The fight for democracy in Haiti goes as back as 1806. And since then, we have always had people, groups, fighting for democracy. We have had periods of democracy. Yes, certainly. Not only interlude periods between two dictators and a regime, which is quite normal. When the regime is put out, when the other intervention is coming, there is a kind of intervention, which is democracy. But other than that, regime which has been democracy. There's no doubt about it. This I study was a democratic regime. Estimé was a democratic regime. When I was in power, we that it was a democratic regime. We have had democratic regime. Você viajar sobre o povo familiar, deve escrever nas comunidades, and certa gente, but more than that, we have had, and it's important, we have had democratic liberties in Haiti, even under the colonialism. Look at the elections, for example. When I read under the pen of some observers, which was a high school observer, that we've never had free elections in Haiti, never had free representation in Haiti. It's only in December 19. I smiled. People ignore nations. From 1832 to 1843, we have had regular presidential elections. To the point that when Boyer was going to dismiss the chamber to have elections, the same people on more than that from the opposition came back to these elections. That is history of the government. We had the democratic election in 1870. We had democratic election in 1879. We had democratic election in 1929, 1930. That's the past of the country. Because we had a tradition of democratic election and was moments of full life. So therefore, what we have to say is not that we can ignore democracy. It is that we must make regular and normal what was exceptional and unusual. There are roots in the history of democracy for the country, for democracy. But more than that, if you consider the legitimate traditional society, we find jails, Sevilla, jails, which can welcome a democratic regime. What the country has, and look at the people, the way they used to live before Liberty and before the collapse and the abolition of the army and the instability of the state. What do you do? But you see, in their own life, real life, they gather into council to discuss matters of the community. They organize themselves into rural cooperatives to decide and help one another. They choose leaders among themselves according to a consolidation of everything. That's a democratic local practice. You can find welcoming framework for implementing democracy. If you decide that you are going to put democracy in the foreign form traditional, which is wonderful, I agree, but it will not be adapted to the institution of state. You must find the roots to have the tree of democracy, which shall develop and flourish. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's wrong. I'm against those who deny any democratic history and tradition. Now, of course, I must conclude and contemplate to please our friend. He's waiting, hiding. Police, what have we done? Is today the country needs badly to exploit some possibilities and factors of development which are just waiting. And when they say, as I said this before, just in this lecture, the prospects are somber. That's true. The prospects are catastrophic, that's true. But we have some sectors which are positive ones, waiting for development and recognition and implementation. I've made a list of these sectors. I don't want to look at that because it's part of the time. I don't know, it's so important. You can always look at the thing in a certain way. Let us look at the thing with the rules, in a pink way, with optimism. Not optimism given the present situation. The situation leads to pessimism. But optimism looking at the future and the prospect. You find in Haiti today. These realities, which for me are considered positive factors waiting for development. One, some of them are low. Cheap manpower, well stocked with plentiful workers capable of influence, dynamism, and ingenuity by necessity. I don't have to tell you to go. but I could give you some evidence among the foreign investors when they are disinvested elsewhere, they lamented the Asian workers they had before leaving the country. So you have that's one. You have several. You have qualification all over the country of local renovation policies made by the people themselves looking for a future. From Kapoti in the northeast to Beaumont in the southeast. From the southern department to the northeast western department. You have upward movement of the cooperative and community works like Fondiasu. You have boost of the popular saving banks and mutual credit funds. You have a rapid extension of the banking business network and integration of the sectors of the population acceding to banking services. Notable activities of the construction building industry, semi-formalization of the informal sector in expansion, emergence of entrepreneurship at the popular masses level as well as the elite level. Modern entrepreneurs of the new developing sector of the business community, but also modern entrepreneurs coming out of the cooperative in the dynamic sector of the rural world. Diaspora with mobilizable resources, wider opening to the external world, to its production, to its consumption requirements, and also to its working modes. Availability of more open access to foreign capital. Integrated type of local development, so far well conducted. Innovating projects, some being in suspense within the drivers. Availability of newly formed expertise. I said today, the son of the good people of the 70s are those PhDs from the universities. Accumulated by and called for, unexplored natural resources, and so on. So, what are we saying? We are saying that the country only, but urgently and badly needs to bring and to that maintain in power a competent, incorruptible, progressive, dedicated to the government, open-minded and patriotic team to give new direction and directive to public affairs and stimulate private business in the context of a structural change to a modern society. It is widely recognized, excuse my modesty on that it is precisely what we had endeavored and begun to do when we were in power. But this has been so far with Asian politics, almost I would try to square the circle. Nevertheless, the driving force for this cannot but be found in the Haitian people itself. Whatever important may be and must be international solidarity cooperation, it is the Haitian people which will soon save itself on our distress but beloved fatherland. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leslie, for that exposition. And I know you was patient with your partner, keep independent, and somehow manage to survive. How do we see it? How do we plan to deal with it? Obviously, I don't think too many people have the answer to the question per se. But all of us, in our own endeavors, I think we can contribute
tribute to those who are not participating in the policy process. Leslie Manigat introduced his comments on the basis of suggesting he was going to this very poetic academic scroll through 80 mapping situation. I think it would be a summary of his comments. And I was thinking to myself that it might be interesting to provide some thoughts on the high resonates, if you will, in a scroll through sort of the policy-making community's own pathway, vis-a-vis. Here, particularly speaking from my perspective, perhaps in Washington. And here I see both of those comments for starters, sort of obviously a gap, which is that there is a policy process which is in time somewhat divorced from reality. And at the other end are obviously individuals, communities, institutions that are already willing to contribute, participate, if you will, in the Haitian political process, the policy process. Generally, and somehow the two don't meet very, very effectively. The other comment I would make is in terms of how it resonates, how these comments resonate in my own mind is, in some ways you provided us with a contrast which is so dramatic that at times you're not quite sure exactly what to do with it. I was starting to write at the end that basically you were giving us a rather apocalyptic set of prospects. Yet, as it turns out, the follow-on set of thoughts which you suggested way at the end of your comments were much more hopeful, much more potentially suggestive of an environment, particularly Haitian community environment, both here and in Haiti itself, which has a lot to offer. And I think that's a little bit the problem from a policymaker's perspective as well as an academic perspective, which is that none of these things come together very neatly, very effectively. So I'm struck with, if I may say so, with all due respect, with an extraordinarily articulate assessment of what the problems are, but how you translate that how you operationalize that, if you will, into solutions, let alone into a political process, which ultimately is understandable, can be sustained politically, both in Haiti as well as outside of Haiti. In some ways, the key question, and maybe certainly we're discussing. Let me just give out a third point here. I think there is some degree of adjustment, I think, vis-a-vis Haiti in the last several years, which relates to your third phase here, your third part of the comments. I think there is a shift, certainly, among observers here in the United States, but it's up I think also elsewhere, from seeing sort of Haitian policy, if you will, since 1990, that was what Marxist gave us, as less of a success and perhaps clearly more of a lost opportunity, regardless of how you define 1990 and so forth. And that in some ways that is, I would say, perhaps progress, which is that the abstraction, if you will, that 1990 became, in the eyes of many people, particularly policymakers, which was that there was something dramatic that was going to happen out of this, and that therefore any solutions were basically going to work themselves out. Turns out to be not quite the case. And then secondly, related to that, obviously, we then have the translation of that, I would say, something which you alluded to, but didn't say, which is that you pulled out 1990 was dramatic. I think it was in some ways dramatic, but perhaps disappointing, as it turns out. Much of the policy-making community, not the academic community, but the policy-making community, has already provided to some degree implicitly for a foregone conclusion to the next big event, which is the year 2000, which is most policymakers, certainly American policymakers, basically have developed a scenario where the year 2000 is related to 1990, and basically everything's on automatic pilot, and all of the problems that you very carefully, very articulately way outline are not irrelevant, but basically are a distraction. And distraction in terms of the conclusion which they perceive that ultimately is not a bad one, and one that ultimately is going to happen, regardless of what we all do, which is the triumphal re-election of the man that was like this in 1990. I'll stop here.
I can't do this. Take 2 years. 1957. The best political development platform I have ever read in Haiti or in the Caribbean was the platform that Louis Desjois presented in 1957 for the banquet. Desjois was an agronomist. His platform had to do with Haitian agronomy. He was from the southern part of Haiti. Unfortunately, there was no political possibility because Duvalier had the charisma and the messianism and the particular moment that swept him into office. And I agree with David Nichols when he says that Duvalier was freely elected. But he had no platform for Haiti. The platform was that of Desjois. But for Haitian historical, sociological reasons, which you have explained, Desjois had no chance. And then, of course, Desjois' group, that extraordinary group of young Haitians that threw themselves, some out of Florida with the CIA, some out of Cuba with Castro, and the finest, the educated and technical blood of Haiti was split, fighting the Duvalier regime, which became one of them. Take 1990. In 1990, if you combine, and I know you don't like to hear this, if you combine your platform with that of Marc Bazin, you had 2 of the finest pieces of thought in terms of the development of Haiti. Now, I always found it lamentable that you and Mark simply cannot. I'm told that you all are talking. No, I hope. So, maybe you're going to thank us tonight to tell us what that is. So, Mark was there. I met with him and I said, why don't you and Leslie sit down for God's sake and have a drink a little barbacoa and eat, because you know you're 2 giants of Haiti. Well, but in 1990 it didn't matter because there was a man called Aristide who had no platform. All he had was some theology, liberation stuff, blended with a little Marxism and blah. But he won. He won. I was there. I covered the election. I was all over the southern part from Jeremy down to Les Cayes. He won. Is that the terrible paradox of Haiti? Those who have ideas, those who have platforms can't win. And those who don't win. And isn't that always the English? Leslie, don't particularly answer my question. I don't know what it is, but I just thought I had to say
This is just as a belief that some Christians have been raised by the commentators, because after all, what I have to say to the people in the center crisis could be said within the other segments of the story. But if you come directly to the book, let us put it this way. At the time of independence, we had a new world order, which was white supremacy, slavery, this was maintained up to the end of the 19th century. The new modern world wanted to be just a club to govern the world. This club, by rotation, was giving to one country the supremacy. French supremacy, English supremacy, North American supremacy. Okay. Today the situation is like what the picture seems to indicate. First of all, you have not the possibility of playing one of the countries on the people who have the other, like the Soviet did, like the Soviet. So that exploited the English power to deal with the French. Exploited the Spanish rivalry to compete with the French. And finally, consequent, the American, the newborn power in order to checkmate France and hope for an independence. He said that's what he said. This correspondence to the American Constitution. Have patience, saying, I'm going to independence, but I'm moving this way. Nowadays, a Haitian statesman who thinks that he can play one power against the other is totally France, which would be the second we could like to play to exploit this kind of anti-American antagonism that we find touch that we find in French policy. If you come into France to exploit some kind of rivalry in the United States, à propos vis-à-vis the French today are accepted as American economy. They are concerned and they are pleased to be served. From time to time, of course, there will be a reflex to say, well, we could do that better, the low better, Asian mentality, Asian habits, and so on. Government of understand, government, when you see our policy are in the community, but this will not go far. Since the end of the 19th century, French has accepted a policy which is written in the archives. We are not going to confront deeply confront the US for the sake of economic development. So the first of all, there is a big difference that we are the only way trying to exploit one country against the new. Second, with the new world coming, the independent world is larger, and many countries are like us. So therefore, our situation is not unique as at the beginning, but becomes more strange. When you look at what the United States is doing in Haiti, I'm speaking firstly, I'm not speaking critically. They're doing Haiti today what they don't do in Jamaica, Dominican Republic. They do so challenge. I think that we are again in a situation where we have to find out why they behave the way they behave vis-à-vis Haiti and not that the government. I think that they are making a choice. They are making in the true sense of the word, without any criticism from them. They are discriminating, that means taking difference. And you have to ask yourself why they are doing it. And sometimes it's because they will see so they allocate to meet the social reality and they act accordingly. So other times the nations accept what you will do. They should have ready to submit while you just discuss. When you look at the president of Haiti, who is called to that and given instructions to do that, and they want to go back to the past, we don't see that in the traditional person, but it's that there is a responsibility of the nations, the way they approach the international community, which invites the international community. When you have a president of Haiti who invites the military intervention of the community, how can you expect from the international community a respect for Haitian sovereignty?
That's it.
So that's the second point I want to tell. Now the new world, I agree with you that there is a new era which we call the old. Even with the thing, we do like also, life is not the most species except life for the United States. When we speak of in our that is exactly the word used by Theodore Roosevelt to speak about reality at the era of American reality. So therefore, I agree with that the new world resembles a lot to the world of the end of the century of last century. But the reason why we publish an article very long from an American what I was saying, that how are we going back to another colonialism? Now, fourth point, the new world order is a global. The old world order was a competition for régionalisation. Except que nous avons fait de rôle de transfert before that Today what we have one power which has the means to globalize the rest of the world. I'm not saying this is last forever, no, but they are living in that production that globalization means American. So therefore, everywhere, France, every kind of globalization by Americanizing themselves. Globalization is Americanization. That's the problem, the concept of this thing. I took recently in Paris an example which pleased the people of English. I compare Greece, ancient Greece, in the Mediterranean and the United States in the world. I said, according to ancient authors, that Greece Hellenized the Mediterranean. That through urbanization. Because the Greek people, they said they are people to colonize cities, great cities around the Mediterranean, but not the people use force, wild domination except. But they use their culture. And they harmonize, to harmonize the Mediterranean. When today you have a big power, which is globalizing the world, but not through harmonization, through uniformity. And that is it. To be globalized today is to become Americanized. It's not an harmony between different cultures in a common dialogue, and the big being the superior one, the one which is the common denominator. No. In America, it is the American way of life which is imposed not only by the big digital power, no, but by the capacity to penetrate to the culture that the American way of life has. There is a problem in French, very secret problem about the petit déjeuner, the French breakfast. The French breakfast is today triggered by the American breakfast. You are not saying that you are going to maintain your own breakfast within the context of the revolution, no. Because McDonald's here, and they offer the American breakfast with all and so on. At 15 French, when the French national breakfast formed baguette, sauce, disappeared because it is very famous. And that is good also, entertain. So therefore, you come not through harmonization, no, but uniformization. That's the reason why, when you go to Africa to deal with the United States, when someone says, well, we are going to resist, we are going to oppose, I say, to what extent? Since France, England, Germany, and so on, are being pushed towards the left, they resist, they get your success. You say, now, you know more than the rest. But I would say, how can we resist and get some respected with some decent result while recognizing the trend of the land? Therefore, when you say that the new world is the same, I would say, in this point, well, it is strong, it is hard. And I'm saying more than that. The small company in the last new world of the last company is to maintain an originality within the dominated world. Look at French superiority in the colonialism. All the countries are developed in the English country, it was the rule to maintain their personality. Even the government was going to what they call indirect rule. Today, there is absolutely no possibility to maintain this. Or if there is one, it will be or a change in the United States that will create a plural order. But it's not a concern. And the distress victim is given. And small countries are in the condition of passengers of the train station with the velocity train. When you come to a velocity train, you are going faster, there is no doubt about it. So everybody wants to be into the velocity. I mean, there is a second descent, second class. There are the uncomfortable third class. But the others are set to stand and go within the way with the risk of being ejected for the windows. That's what may happen if you don't get together and get very quickly. That's what we have to do as Haitians. Now, I am totally. But when I of Haitians too, I agree with you that one thing is to analyze correctly and in depth the situation. Another thing is to consider operation, act, transform, change. This is a matter of international, it's not a international community. But why the international community has this community? It's because not that they have powerful beings, which you have to know. And in the community, it's independent. I do not put everybody in those times. The Haitian state budget depends on 65% of private expenses of the government. 65% coming from abroad. 65% is the government. Budget, the investment budget 95%. And this is why they can tell the government, if you don't do that, they went as far as saying, that is why I think this is good. At the beginning of the process of radicalization, every day something a word for Washington. But not only what have we done, they were there. The police will reverse a political aspect. That's what that means. That means at that time that for marginalization, they have to avoid involving in the process Haitian and the right. And choose only for the and if I said from that institute of the World Bank, and it can establish it, that stated you have to put aside local Haitian enterprise after that we had Antigua. We are living monsters and it was today they are the most getting that they are the most. That's the problem. So you must realize that the international community, the way it perceives Haiti, leads it to do certain things that certainly she doesn't do in a but I would say more about the so-called contact with important. Policy makers for it, or about it, feel, and what is feel a sense of concern. When a scholar comes, you say, here is the food. You are missing the fund. Here is the clothing. They feel a sense of concern. Because they want to organically like to see. Haiti was democratic, And then you are saying, well, if you have to say no, because you are honest, because you never accepted the aggressive from the beginning, you are not objective, and you didn't realize that you are not saying accept, and you are never. Look at it, you say that the right thing to the cassette, but you are against the you are against the election that you will accept the government, why don't you get it? And the president of the unit and the report is the unit. But in one side, the reality you wait, you see it and you see according to the views, the views. That's the problem. And it is very important because today things are changing. Today you see that they are impregnating the opinion in the sense that things are going back in only and it is even with your eyes like that. But he himself did not care to receive as a like when he was strongly anti-colonialism, speaking of Jean-Pierre and speaking of Washington exactly the way that Ayatollah Khomeini was saying, exactly. And the people do that, they are comfortable by saying that was your eyes. They don't want to see it that way at that moment. Today, they accept to see it the way it is and see the signs in the American well, that's what I would like to say. No more comments from the world level. Now, the audience, please.
I comment you as a scholar for your great analysis of the crisis of the money. But as a former president who was one in the Politologue of the youngsters, think you can realistically intervene to save whatever can be saved in the country.
Let me tell you 30 paragraphs. In my eyes, the situation is discouraging. But I'm not discouraged. The situation is desperate. But I'm not discouraging myself for this situation. Because first, I just gave you a list of 30 indicators waiting for the recruitment. That means that we have no citizen. Second, I see the country coming to the level of conviction it needs. And I mentioned quite that. It needs an internal awareness that things that change fundamentally and that the nations must realize that change. We are coming to that awareness because at the end of the catastrophe. You will realize that there is a feeling, a strong feeling, not only of deception and disappointment, but also the fact that Haitians must realize where we are, they should do something to go out of that. That's one thing. Second, in the external world, look at that institution in the last state of famous speech by this, substance and form. Compare with the others, the previous Bosnia and Haiti were older than diplomatic success. I see Bosnia, I look for Haiti. I look at it. I don't think it's that. That means that you have now some sign, the last one, some sign that they admit, not only to themselves, within themselves, but to the world, that things are not going so well that they were seeing before, because they did not bring democracy, they did not bring development, they did not bring a safe, secure, and stable environment. They were the three objectives of the intervention, without interpretation. Already are failed. So therefore, there is a feeling that social change must be brought to that government situation. Some independent people are saying that for long. I don't think I'm giving out the secret, but George Orwell has published articles which show clearly what I know you are doing. A plea for a change from that situation to what it is. But now we see some signs which are encouraging. That means that what I'm expecting for the next months or for the next year is what I call the convergence between the internal correction by the nation and the external correction by the internal community. This convergence will allow the nation to build a new nation. That's why I'm saying that as a political man, as a statesman, that have been people without English. As a statesman, I accept that now we have clearly an horizon which permits again some hope about it. Now, we don't underestimate those obstacles, of course not. Obstacles in the reality of the conflict, in the state of the environment, in the low education of the people, in the archaism which we find in the mentality, with the kind of disrespect that we have, with the kind of order that we have, with the kind of middle classification of the world that we have, with the progress of the thing with the international community in order to have a free dialogue, even in the religious because unfortunately the good part is submerged by the less good part of the religious practice of the religion. So and without underestimating the obstacle, I do think that what we have to do refer to two positions. One, very easy, but not in we have to do. That is a little bit more than an objective or a project. It will because you have to live in order to keep you faith that this is possible. And this sense of belief will help you realize. But we must be more scientific. And I prefer scientific, of course, than emotional. We must be more scientific and follow, and I'm following, the line of thought which exists in France today with a man that I admire a lot, is long way. When he is making some research with his team about what he calls a realistic utopia. A realistic utopia. It seems paradoxical at the beginning, but we go to them and all results is that means, of course, this is the name, an utopia. But it can't be taken, it can't become to reality, true, the realization, the ways of the modalities, and the big of a lot of reflection about it. It's realistic. I am, as a political scientist, and as a statesman, now thinking very strongly of a realistic utopia about it.
Any questions? The presentation was Manigat. I'm with a small magazine. We cover Latin America and economics. And I would say that Guatemala, which has been in war for over 10 years, they haven't benefited very much. The nation's on the line. What is the nation going to do? Trinidad has accepted the private market. Jamaica has. And I want to know, instead of putting leading in the global world, let's lead in this region. Caribbean, South America. Once the government has population firms, 70 countries investing. Asian government, they're all together. So that I want to know what they do, what they need. My New Yorker, some kind of credit rating, especially bonds, and not even Americans, French, or Germans, who give money to the government. That's what will happen.
Well, I'm going to give you a quick answer. First of all, they are not turning back. They are back to that. They are just doing it wrong. They don't know how to. Look at the last meeting in December in Miami. Look at the Dominican Republic presenting the case and President Guevara presenting the case. It was serious, technical, there, and articulate. And it's nothing. But in the traditional eloquent way, we are not up to date when we deal with the international community. We are still in the old-fashioned way with the Nézéphal, who has been very réformateur of the Société des Nations, et qui began to fair out with the speeches of the Nézéphal, or it is the law in 1948 with the Universal Declaration of Rights. He is the second father of the Universal Declaration. So the question is, how? But he does not send to the market anymore. We have to change our approach. And I published that in the last time, we have to change our word of approach. We have to change our method, we have to change our language in order to have a fruitful dialogue with the international community. And there is a reality which is absolutely uncontrollable. We have the affluent market as the most important component. As for everybody in the world, we need to go into that market. And we are in next level, small but next. We are taking advantage of that. We are getting to that market, getting to that whatever the government needs. Black or liberty, so right, so centered. They have to face the same reality. How do we find them in the U.S.? In the U.S. population, the problem is what terms. Some people they have to laugh before the state and thank you. Some of the things have to oppose as anti-imperialists in the former Russian way, the Soviet way. But even Castro does not show anymore this kind of fierce anti-imperialism. Castro is fighting, not doing what other people do. Castro is fighting for getting friends in order to come to the US. That's what they are looking at. Don't be mistaken about that. Don't be mistaken. You would like a kind of position, but not on death or surrender. So therefore the problem is quite clear for us. Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados are adopted a certain way. We are within Caribbean. We are within the Caribbean State Association. We have to be conformed to the policy of these associations. We have to get a benefit from that, but we have to do it seriously. So far, it is unfortunate for us. It's sad for me to say that we have not been serious in 18 people and the problems.
I am sure that some of you might want to talk to them privately, so we will close the session with our very deep thanks for the wonderful presentation and stimulating.
For those of you who may be interested in the deeper discussion, deeper analysis of the problem, there is the presentation, the presentation tomorrow as well as tomorrow knowledge starting at 7 p.m.
Après télé, on y est? border, Sydney. Got some border. Matsui Sony.
La foto auto me termina. Toby aller. Toby aller.
Actual part